Honorable Treasurer Governing Council, Indian Plastics Institute, acclaimed polymer technologist and an expert on plastic recycling. We're also going to be joined by Mr. Nirbhay Lumde, the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility, Asia Pacific SBU CGI, Mr. Ashish Jain, Director, Indian Pollution Control Association, Ms. Wilma Rodrigues, Founder and CEO, Saahas Zero Waste, and Mr. DK Soni, Chairman and MD, Eco Recycling. Well, with this, I'd like to humbly invite all our panelists on the stage and screen. And with this, the light baton is over to our session chair, Dr. Sameer Joshi, to take it forth. Thank you for joining us. And Dr. Joshi, over to you to take it forth. A very good morning.
Bhavna, thank you for the introduction. And here we are. SMEs, the backbone of the Indian industry. 40% of the 45% of the industrial production is the SMEs, contributing to around 30% of our GDP and 40% of exports. These are some figures to give you some importance of how the SME is in India. But in the last 2 years, that small virus, 1/10,000 the size of a full stop, has created a different world for all of us. It has put a semicolon, colon, and a full stop to many activities. And as we emerge from this pandemic into a new world, we call ourselves, we are in the new world or the new normal. I think it is not a new normal anymore. It is an accepted normal. A normal which we have to be a part and adjust our dreams, our hopes, our actions, and our realities. It is my great pleasure to welcome all the panelists here. And before I begin, may I request each panelist to share their introduction remarks for 2 to 3 minutes, and then we will take some questions, beginning with Nirbhay ji.
Thank you, Dr. Sameer Joshi. It was nice to hear the energy and the passion from you. Glad to be on this distinguished panel. I'm Nirbhay Lumde. I lead CSR and sustainability for CGI. Purely when it comes to the sustainability part of it or the recycling part of it, I think it's very important for all of us to know and realize that there is no shortcut to what we want to make it or achieve today. There is even much shorter time to achieve what we want to be there. And it's very important for us to realize that it's time of the day that we need to give back what we have taken from the environment or from the climate today. And the same shape and form that we have got it from the ancestors, and we need to hand over the same baton to our future generation. On that note, it's very, very important not just looking at the recycling as one component of it. I think we need to go beyond that recycling and looking at what more could be achieved. Number one. Number two, also looking at today, we are looking at more a society where it's interlinked society. Days are gone where I do something and I'm not anymore bothered about what's happening with the rest of the world. Today, whatever happens today in this continent has a severe impact on the other planet. And also, it also has impact. What happens on the other continent also has an impact on Asia per se. It's also very important to know that we also living in a society where the have and have-nots have really increased. The 1% of the population holds maybe 50 to 60% of the richness. I think it's time to look at those equitable norms and see how we can achieve the sustainable development goals, and more so with the climate. If we do not have it tomorrow and we do not ensure that tomorrow belongs to us, I think there's no point in looking at today itself. So on that note, looking forward to share my own thoughts. More from a CGI point of view, we are committed to net neutral by 2030, and we are working towards that commitment. And we are pretty confident that we as an entity, we are going to be there, and we will ensure that we also work with our supply chain and maturity to be there, and we ensure that the future generations also enjoy what we have enjoyed in the past.
Thank you so much. Samir. Thank you. Wilma ji, you are, the real star among us, connected to the grassroots level, and the pandemic you have seen, and how, the small industry, of course, we all represent different industries. Your industry is the business of, waste, not a business, but also a responsibility and a non-governmental touch to that. So how do you see the present and the future coming together.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Samir, and very happy to be here, especially talking about, the kind of the way we can look towards government for support, because that is how we can. Yeah, okay. So, see, and in fact, today I am speaking as Saahas Waste Management Private Limited, which is a social enterprise and a business model. So as a business model, we've seen that whilst we have environmental and social impact at the core of what we do, we still find big gaps in terms of the ecosystem that enables us to deliver on the social and environmental impact. So today in this, Saahas Zero Waste now has great credibility because we've been transitioned from an NGO, which was started in 2001, and then the private limited, which the entity was registered in 2013. So there is considerable experience of 20 years working in this space, working with resource recovery, with decentralized systems, and not just experience, but there is knowledge and there is demonstration of what is possible. So even having been through this long journey, having delivered with great credibility, because we are an organization today, just Saahas Zero Waste or Saahas Waste Management Private Limited, that manages about 100 tons of waste per day, different types of waste, whether it is wet waste, dry waste, electronic waste, and now we are also working with collection and management of C&D waste. So all of these waste streams is something that we've had experience. But when it comes to working with the government, working with the schemes, especially the access to, say, working capital, which is so critical in our businesses, we see the poor understanding of our banking system to enabling businesses like us really realize our potential. So this is what I'm happy to discuss in this panel today. What is it that holds us back? What is it that makes us believe that waste management still belongs to an age where where there is no accountability? So we need, if we are talking the way we are, then we need to work on the ground, and we need to understand the realities of the ground. We need to realize that there is great potential in getting jobs, but these jobs cannot be like the jobs of the 20th century. These should be jobs where there is impact on the social front, there is minimum wages that are paid, and there is good working conditions. So these are things that I'm looking forward to discuss in the next 40 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. DK Soni ji, your thoughts, opening thoughts.
Thank you so much, Dr. Samir. It's a really pleasure meeting you and Wilma ji after a long time. Obviously, I don't think that I had an opportunity to meet Ashish ji and Nirbhay ji any time, but pleasure to meet all of you again. So I represent a company known as Eco Recycling Limited, EcoReco, the first company which was registered by the Central Pollution Control Board for recycling of electrical and electronic waste as early as in 2004-05. We started our journey, and the first company of Maharashtra, which was also recognized, authorized by the MPCB in as early as in 2008-09 when the regulation or the guideline came into existence. So, and we are a listed company on the Bombay Stock Exchange, probably an exceptional in this particular segment of waste management, of e-waste management. We are the only company it looks like. So I represent this company, and I'll be very happy to take any questions coming in from your end. And that's all from my end. But at the same time, yes, in a few more sentences, if I can say, e-waste is one of the most valuable waste in that true sense. It's actually a scrap, like automobile scrap and electronic equipment. These are all which contains everything which is recoverable technologically. Commercially, sometimes it becomes unviable to recover certain items, but otherwise everything is completely recoverable. And that too can be achieved in a format of very environment-friendly manner, as against the informal way it is being treated presently, almost 95% plus. So we are here, and Wilma ji is doing a wonderful job for almost 2 decades. And we are here to assist her further and to achieve the objective of the government as well as of the society.
Thank you, sir, for your words, which always come from the heart and are ground level. That is very important. Ashish ji, are you there? We are not able to see you. Your opening remarks, please.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, all, and it's pleasure to be here in this platform. I would like to extend your thought, Dr. Joshi ji. The small and medium scale business enterprises contribution is huge in Indian economy, and they are creating a lot of job around us. And we don't see our future without these small and medium enterprises. And there are a lot of schemes available. There are a lot of policies available by the government to support these small and medium enterprises. But my pain is these schemes do not reach to the needy people or to the needy entity, because there is always a gap between government and the actual grassroots workers. So government many times, what I observe, they just form a scheme or a policy and they put it on website, and government thought it's a common man responsibility to visit their website every day and get to know about their policy schemes. So we are not very poor in terms of policy guideline schemes and assistance from government, but we are very poor in terms of reaching to the needy people. So if government and there is a big lack in our society, and that's why we are not growing as we should grow. India is a big resource country, and skill wise we are very rich, and we are very passionate about our work, and we are very honest and hardworking. But due to some this lack of information or lack of transition of a scheme to the grassroots level, we could not achieve what we need to achieve. So I'm representing Indian Pollution Control Association, a 20-year-old organization, NGO. We are working at the grassroots level in the field of waste management, environment conservation, air quality management, and we work with the community, and it's very hard to get government scheme on ground. So I would be happy to hear lots about how we can give benefit to the people at grassroots level. That's it from my side.
Thank you. My next question to all the panelists is, a question which is open-ended. In the present circumstances, has the government done enough for the SME and the sector that you represent? I would request we go in the reverse order. Ashish ji to first take this question.
Yeah. So as I mentioned in my opening remark, government are busy in making policy scheme and putting on their website. I didn't see a transition of those scheme into reality. People are still unaware about the policy and scheme. So government should also focus how to take these schemes to the grassroots level. They should appoint some consultants or they should appoint some implementing agency who will be responsible to take this scheme to the common man. Otherwise, this scheme will remain on the website or in the small articles at the newspaper, just as a public notice. How many people visit government site every day? Means I have never visited any government site, or it's very rare moment I go to government website and go through all their articles and publications or the news and get to know. So so I think there is there should be a strong PR among the government agencies, and there are a lot of work need to be done to make people aware about those schemes, and the process of facilitating people should be very easy. There are a lot of documentation work involved in getting the government benefit of government schemes. It's very easy. So our prime minister is saying we are working on ease of doing business, but on reality it is not there. If you want to start a very small entity with very small capital investment or with very minimum infrastructure, you have to take a lot of permission and licenses from different departments, and it's a headache for a common man. And it's a fear among the people that if we follow the organized segment, we have to follow lots of license, and that's why they opted for the informal operations. So many peoples in our society are doing a lot of good work, but in an informal manner. They do not want to take formal registrations. Yesterday only, I had a interaction with lots of small help groups, around 40 women who produce soaps, agarbatti, dhoop, and they are struggling to get the right audience or the consumers for their products. And I came to know that they didn't go for the GST registration. So they had a fear, if we go for a GST registration, we will stuck in filing the returns and tax. So this kind of communication is lacking. That's kind of awareness is lacking among the people. People want to work. People want to work in an organized manner and want to be fully compliance company, but it is not very easy. So we have to remove those myths that if we go for compliance thing, our business will be difficult, and our maximum time will go in meeting the compliances. So there is no ease of doing business right now. I'm not seeing any ease of doing business in India. And that's the biggest constraint in doing a lot of innovative and creative things.
Thank you. Soni ji, your thoughts on this, please.
Sure. Thank you, sir. So 2-3 things. One is that stricter implementation of the regulation is the crux of the entire, all the kind of rules and regulations which are there for the waste management, whether it is solid waste management or e-waste or biomedical and all. So stricter implementation is certainly missing. There is no doubt about. In spite of almost 10 years now, 2011 was the first year when the first rule were declared of e-waste management. And since then, almost 10 years are over now. I don't see much of changes come, except lots of people have started talking and lots of people have become expert on the subject matter. But then who are really practicing is a big question mark. And are they really practicing safely and environment friendly is again another question mark. As rightly mentioned by Mr. Ashish, ease of doing business, it's very easy to get GST number. And there are about 200 companies in UP alone who have secured GST number and are e-waste recyclers. And they've done a business of 200,000 metric ton in the previous year. As against probably if you go back to 2019, the tonnage was less than 70,000 metric ton. So these are the kind of ease of doing businesses are also there, which are using the system, but not effectively implementing the requirement. Second point, that when the second rule were in the process of drafting and implementation, I had an opportunity to meet the minister and could convince him about the skill development is an integral part of the waste management. And it's very pleasant to mention once again that in the e-waste management rules, there is a provision for skill development, probably the first time any rule has seen this kind of provision to come in. But unfortunately, none of the state government has taken any initiative. Believe me, I have written more than 2 or 3 times to each and every pollution control board office and the ULBs, but no response at all. So, and our company is again exceptionally well, placed in that sense. NSDC, we are partner of NSDC and funded partner of NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation, for 4 years. And we want to educate our skill the informal workers so that they can be integrated with the formal sector. We don't want to change their domain expertise. They are very much knowledgeable. What is missing probably is on account of the compliances, maybe regulatory compliance, tax related compliance or environment related compliances. These are the only 2 topics where we want to really add value to them. We have really created a wonderful courses for right from collection till the recycling. But yeah, that's all.
Wilma ji, your thoughts?
Yeah, so 2 quick thoughts. One is the fact around access to working capital. So today, even as we've seen that a lot of there has been a lot of attention on the need for working capital for SMEs and MSMEs, but waste management continues to kind of be elusive in terms of banks understanding our businesses. There is this big obsession towards tech. Tech is fine, tech is required, but tech does not solve our problems alone. So they need banks, etc., need to have a better understanding of what it takes to run a holistic waste management company. And we should be able to get capital at a much lower rate of interest compared to where we are currently forced to approach NBFCs, etc. So we really need for our businesses to have reasonable cost of capital for us to be able to grow our businesses and provide the kind of holistic services that are required. Secondly, when you have even governments put out RFPs for municipal corporations, etc., state governments, municipal corporations, we see that very often these tenders, etc., don't even have the detail that is required so that there will be complete compliance to the waste management. Today, when you look at a RFP for waste management for a municipal corporation, they don't talk about collection of segregated waste, which is a basic requirement today according to municipal solid waste rules. So you see big gaps in the RFPs, and then therefore you see the wrong kind of people actually coming into this space, and you see therefore the proliferation of waste to energy, which is actually a solution which should be just a fringe solution, not a mainstream solution, because the municipal solid waste rules are talking about maximum resource recovery. And waste to energy cannot be circular economy. Waste to energy in the form of incineration is not circular economy. So on the one hand, when you have the rules, as the other two panelists have said, why is the simple RFPs not really reflecting these requirements? And lastly, we need user fees to be strictly enforced. Revenues from waste cannot meet social and environmental compliances. So why even municipal corporations, government is shying away from enforcing user fees so that there can be proper waste management services provided on the ground. So these would be my 3 big points that I'd like to put forward.
Thank you so much. Nirbhay, over to you.
Dr. Joshi, I think I have a very different context to it, because I come from an IT company which is investing largely into the waste recycling and more so the wet waste. I'm very happy to see here Wilma ji here. I work very closely with Saahas. Couple of things that I have in my mind to share. One thing for sure, I realized over the last 3 years is that I think the government needs to encourage collaborations. It's a problem or a challenge that cannot be solved by one single entity or 2 single entities. I think it's about collective effort for sure. It's a time to bring in out the required industry and the not-for-profit and the municipal corporations to come together and work towards a solution for sure. The second, I also realized all the time that there is investment for sure when it comes to the segregation of waste, as well as to ensure that the waste also is more of an investment. But however, it takes a good amount of time to get, be it from even to initiate the discussions to leading to the investments and having happen the project into reality. It takes at least for a year for us, some of us, to really getting into reality. So therefore, I think it's ease of getting into some of these things. The waste management also looked into as a business opportunity for not just for about the not-for-profits, but for the agencies, but also for the corporates to come and invest in large terms for sure. And we are here. I would like to make one statement for sure that all of us are interested to invest for sure towards better tomorrow. And I think it's about ease of doing things is what's required, more so from companies that are more urban based and companies like ours who are willing to do it. I think it's more about having some of those clauses and mechanisms to be more eased out so that investments are more and we are able to show what really works when we work with the communities and working with other collaborators.
Thank you. So, a question where, every one of us knows. So we have been through the bad phase as such during the pandemic. So how in your sector particularly has the government been able to give support, or have they been, how has the industry bounced back? I know the IT sector is a little different, but beginning with Nirbhay again, can you please elaborate the...
Yeah, Dr. Joshi, I think IT sector, yes.
Let me phrase it this way: the pandemic time, the present time, and the future time. So it's a question of all the 3 times.
I think from a pandemic point of view, I think government has been supportive, especially when it comes to the IT sector. I think some of the ease of doing business was much easier, simpler. I think some of us who really had the legacy of working things, I think we have really gotten to the new age of working style. for sure. It was much easier that way. The second point I would like to bring in, I think, especially discussions about, especially about the business and the subsequent to the topic of discussion today about we are talking about the waste. I think this is even more important for us, given the kind of waste that is getting generated today. I think needs to be discussed even more further. The kind of waste that generated in the COVID terms, I think we also need to have investments coming in there for sure. The kind of waste that is getting generated, no more the traditional waste of generation will not work for us for sure. So therefore, I think it's time for collectively to work around having some of the solutions in place for sure. The third biggest thing that I see it, Dr. Joshi, I think the world is going to be more closer the way I see it. I'm sure the government will work with the industry for sure to having more proactive ways of working for sure. The biggest thing that I see it that I think it's time that I think all of us will work much more closer than what we were earlier for sure. The other thing that I would like to put point first, I think all of us, as not just about the industry as institutions, I think at individual level also, I think all of us have realized that all of us have only one life, and it is time for all of us to come together to see what is that individual social responsibility all of us have towards the climate or the waste. Some of us really realize that. I guess it's the future is more positive for me for sure. I think there are opportunities to work together.
Thank you. Wilma ji, coming to you, how has been the past, the present, and what do you see of the immediate future?
Yeah, so I'd like to appreciate the fact that we do have the Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0 that came across very strongly post-pandemic, focusing on processing, looking at the need for, for the destinations for waste. The Swachh Sarvekshan has now got good traction. Cities municipal corporations are excited to participate. They're competing with each other, but that sincerity of resource recovery is what we want to see in the future. I would like to question the fact that we have talking about currently 70% of waste being processed. This is not being reflected on the ground. There needs to be that data that needs to be fact checked. So let's not just get into excitement about, the fact that, okay, this is what we have, what has been done, unless it is really getting done. Swachh Sarvekshan has great potential, but let there be sincerity in terms of the actual processing, resource recovery, segregation at source. Segregation at source is not difficult. It is not, if it is enforced, if it is done sincerely, each city can achieve that. So in the future, I would like to see less waste to energy, more resource recovery, more appropriate infrastructure, which need not be technology, inappropriate technology based. It has to be appropriate technology, appropriate infrastructure, appropriate operational costs being met so that people on the ground working with waste are paid at least minimum wages. That's what I see happening in the future, and I have great hope for this to happen.
Your thoughts, Ashish ji?
Yeah, in waste management, we are in evolving stage. I started my career in waste in 2001, where people do not even know the definition of segregation. So we started our journey from that level. So first rule came in 2001 only. So as Wilma said, the Swachh Bharat Mission has played a very critical role in creating awareness and bringing different stakeholders actively on these segments, and more people are coming. Investors are also coming. The responsibility of ULB has emerged like anything. Now ULBs, it's a need for them also to develop infrastructure to manage their waste. So I remember those time when I go to ULB's office and ask for a small piece of land for setting up composting sites were very difficult, and they don't even wanted to listen us. Now they are calling us and ready to give us land for setting up infrastructure like material recovery facility, composting facility. They are empaneling us. We are empaneled with more than 80 ULBs of India. So now this is good, which is happening nowadays, but it has to be evolved more aggressively. It's just not a paperwork. Few ULBs are signing agreements or empaneling NGO just to meet their Swachh Bharat mission objectives or Swachhta Sarvekshan mission, but they have to go beyond this documentation. People have to do real work on the ground. So, as I mentioned, it's an evolving phase. In last decade, we were just trying to make people aware, and in second decade, government came up with the good policies. Swachh Bharat Mission is one of them. EPR is also a very important tool. Now EPR is coming in tires also. So now we have EPR in three domain: plastic, tires, and e-waste. So this through EPR, brand owners or the industry is also become a very important stakeholders. And with this collaborative approach of all the stakeholders, including government, industries, NGOs, and even the waste generators are also very actively involving in this supply chain. So I'm seeing future is very bright, and there are lot of opportunity in this waste management sectors. People are also big industries or big business group are also coming up, and once they put up their fit in this segment, they will change the entire scenario. And most likely, we have to change the value of solid waste management. When I started, solid waste management was considered as a very low value business segment. People give different looks when I said I'm doing waste management. So even my friend was also very annoyed with me when I started my career in waste management. So now they are giving a lot of respect to this segment. So this is what we require. Solid waste management need respect, need ethics, and people who are involved in this waste management should do professionally and ethically. And for to give more respect to this business, we are also going to start one course certificate with Delhi University. So now universities are also keen to provide like professional trainings to their students on this important subject. So this subject is getting importance. This subject is getting value. So future is very bright. Maybe after 5 years, India waste management system will be different.
Soni ji, your thoughts of what we have been through and what we will be going through.
Okay, so first is that we all must be, I'm sure we all appreciate whatever the efforts have been put in during this pandemic period by the government, whether local government or even central government and all, to see that our life runs very smoothly. There was no, so government having two roles. In fact, they were taking care of the public in general and also functioning effectively so that nothing goes out of track. So that is admirable. Certain things might have probably not worked out well for particular industries. That can be certainly said. Secondly, now onwards, probably it's more important to say corporate social responsibility. As against that, it should be said probably citizen social responsibility have become more important at this point of time. Everybody has to participate in collection or dismantling or segregation, or not everybody has to do all these things, but everybody has to really do a job that at least they go to the box to deposit their waste, whatever. That's all is more than enough. And that is what is, I would call it, citizen social responsibility. And I would like to see that change to come in. Thank you, sir.
I have a couple of questions which anyone can answer, beginning with Soni ji, since you have been involved with it for a long time. E-waste as such, but the other policy, other thing also. You see, in the other type of waste, there is lack of data monitoring, data values, are the correct values. We don't get that. So, there is always a talk of this, but nothing much has progressed at time. So how do you see this, and what is the solution to this? The real data.
So, Samir sir, one thing we should not ignore is that whether data are accurate or not accurate, the point is that the problem still exists to the extent of whether 5% or 95%, depending on the different types of waste, So data may or may not be, because all this data are not scientifically worked out. So one cannot surely say what I have worked out is the perfect data and what you have worked out has a limitation, So let's not get into the argument. If there is a challenge, there is a challenge. If there is a matter of murder or there is a case of rape, the applicability of the legislation is same. So quantum should not really drive us. What should drive us? The problem still exists and how we can resolve it together. That's all I would say.
Nirbhay, you come from an IT background, and how do you, where data and, such things matter a lot. How do you see the lack of data or the data monitoring or the correct data in this field?
Dr. Joshi, the biggest challenge has been that, yes, I do agree on the data, but the biggest challenge has been that for us, especially when it comes to corporate, we always look into black and white. And there's always challenge when it comes to the waste for sure. How much is being collected and how much has been segregated and how much has been converted into an investment. Purely on those lines, the biggest challenge has been the sourcing itself. I think that's what matters. I think something that Wilma also spoke about it, something that Ashish and Soni also spoke about it. I think it's about the individual responsibility which needs to be built and awareness around it for sure. I think that's something that very, very important. The second biggest thing also I realize purely when it comes to the monitoring aspect of it, I think there's also a close monitoring required, not just about the individual responsibility, but also from the local bodies also is very, very important, very critical, especially when it comes to large scale. It's much easier for us to dump us into a dumping yard versus getting that into an investment or converting to a best purpose. For sure, I think given a more of transparency will certainly help us corporates for sure. The second biggest thing that I realize, Dr. Joshi, I think all of us as corporates are looking for the success stories. For all of us to discuss investment into waste management is all about the board is willing to discuss the investments for this waste segregation for sure. The biggest challenge has been for us to showcase the success stories and going back to the board saying that, you know what, here is what is working over a long time, 3 years, 5 years, to bring in the investment. All of us, especially I can talk about the IT industry, are willing to invest on the corporate social responsibility. All of us have the mandate to spend for sure. I think all of us have that willingness to work with urban bodies for sure. And we are more than happy if there's a transparency of the dashboards that's available. We'll be more than happy to invest on the waste management for sure. So there is promise for sure. And there is commitment. It's all about working together and make those investment happen. And we work towards those waste management.
So, this is where perhaps technology is required, because you do have now technology that can really bring in the data very accurately. But we would now expect that this data is in the form of dashboards, in the form of close monitoring, is actually utilized. So this is where perhaps when you look at EPR and compliances and the fact that you see a lot of not very good practices that are taking place, where there is collusion, recyclers, all of that happening. So data can help us really ensure there is accountability and transparency so that the waste, as it moves from source to aggregation to final destination, there's a proper tracking and tracing. So I think data is important, and I would like to see ULBs be trained so that they get to their dashboards, they look at their dashboards, and they are able to understand where the problem is. We can definitely use data far more efficiently if there is intent to have the data used appropriately, not for just making a big eyewash, but for actually pinpointing the problem areas where things are not going wrong. For instance, if you're looking at infrastructure that needs to be put up, and you know that your ULB generates 25 tons of waste per day, say, then you will put your infrastructure for 25 tons a day and not for 100 tons a day or not for 5 tons a day. So that kind of specific requirements can come through data. When you know that a particular ward is not segregating, let's attack that ward. If another ward is doing properly, let's go back to that ward and have conversations with each other so that each one supports the other. So we also see corporate sector, whilst in the terms of marketing and sales, they're very, very forward in terms of using best practices to get that data. But why are they falling short when it comes to giving data of how much they've actually recycled? This is fully possible today, and we'd like the pollution control boards to go back to them and make sure that they get that information on recycling, follow it up, make sure that the recyclers are also, following process so that there is no double counting of materials. All of that can come through data. We know the problems. We really need to be sincere in addressing the solutions.
Thank you. A question for Ashish ji. You work formal, informal, both the sectors. The GST issue. Formal players are paying GST, informal players are not interested. How do you see the problem and formalizing that part?
See, it's a big constraint, I think, in this waste management sector. So, informal sectors, first, they are not equipped with these technical or tax assistance. They have fear also. So, if they get GST registered, they have to do so many blah blah thing. So, I think government and NGOs and the people who are working with this informal sector take this responsibility to educate them and guide them to get the proper taxation process. And so we are working toward this, and people who are associated with this and who are supplying material to us, we push them to get the GST registration. And now many people are having proper GST numbers. They are supplying the material with the tax invoice, so we can have better tracking on the system. Government also have better tracking, and they also contribute to the GDP by depositing tax on time. So it will take time because it's a very, it's a big stake of informal sector in this segment, and it will take some time to bring all those people to the other side of things, like formal in a organized or formalized system. I am very hopeful that change will come very soon.
Panelists, we are almost running out of time. Just one last line, 30 seconds, each of you, beginning with Wilma ji.
As Ashish very rightly put, opportunity is there. There is a large requirement for proper waste management, and we all are there as businesses and as even entities in the not-for-profit space, and we are all ready to work together. And so that brings us to a great hope at the beginning of year 2022.
Sir, nature builds the nation. This is what I strongly believe in. And nature builds the nation means simply, जब तक प्रवृत्ति नहीं बदलेंगे प्रकृति बचने वाली नहीं. So हमें प्रवृत्ति के ऊपर ध्यान देना है, behavior पे ध्यान देना है. How are we treating our own waste is very important. It is coming back to us in various forms, maybe water, air, and food. So we have to change ourselves. Not that we need dictation for that. We are very much cautious when it comes to our benefits. Everybody is tech savvy. Whenever there is a benefit from government, everybody is tech savvy and they receive all the benefits. As soon as it comes a matter of responsibility, they immediately say, boss, I don't know how to do all this. So I beg to differ with you, Ashish, on that particular point, don't mind me. But these guys are very smart. They're domain experts. They know what to do and how to do. And chartered accountants are around with them. They can very easily go and get it done. So pravritti badle, prakriti badlegi.
Thank you. Nirbhay ji.
I think the parting comment would be for me that we are committed and we'll stay committed with the respect to the investments towards waste segregation for sure. Not in the past, but now also in the future for sure.
Thank you. Ashish ji, your last word.
Yeah. So I see waste management is a very beautiful niche or ecosystem where each one is a very important stakeholders, even the waste generator. So we cannot complete the loop without the people who are generating waste. So their participation is equally important as recycler and government and ULB and geo industries. So with this note, I just want to say, hum honge kamyab ek din, and we will work in close collaborations. We should work beyond the competition, and because we all are working toward the same goals, environment conservation. That's it from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to summarize this in a 1.5 minute story. There is a small entrepreneur, village entrepreneur. He has some land and he goes to a money lender to start his business, but he only has one cow. So he goes to the money lender and says, I have a cow, which he tells the truth. I have a cow who is 5 years old and all that, but can you lend me some? I need 1,000 rupees. The money lender says, I can give you only 500. That fellow goes home dejected. Next day, he uses his brain and comes to the same money lender and says, I have a cow somewhere in that in my land, that land is there. So will you take it yet? 500 rupees. This is some, mind that word, somewhere in that land, that cow is there. The money lender says, okay, I'll take it. And he gives them 500 rupees. After taking the 500 rupees, this entrepreneur goes out of the village because he has just said that what has happened is actually the cow has run away somewhere. After a month, he comes back to the village and he goes to the money lender. He's thinking that the money lender will get angry and he will curse him. But the money lender hugs him and says, "Oh, why didn't you meet me for where were you?" He said, did you find the cow? Oh, yes, I did find the cow. And in fact, I sold it for 9,000 odd rupees. He said, how? I made a lottery for 1 rupee and said that anyone who wants to buy a cow, take this 1 rupee and get the cow. One person wins the cow. And he says, go and get that cow from that land. It's somewhere here. That man goes around for a day, but he's not able to find the cow. But what does this money lender do? This money lender just says, okay, take back your 1 rupee. I'm sorry, I couldn't find the cow. The moral is the money lender is the SME businessman. He has to use his brains to learn, to unlearn, and to do things, balance the finances and also that. So being smart, करना है, बस करना है, SME भारत को आगे ले जाना है. That is the only wish and thought that I hope all of you agree, which we leave. And thank you all my panelists, BK Soni ji, Nirbhay ji, Wilma ji, and Ashish ji. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you so much.